What's going on, fam? Sep Guards fam, what's going on? Y'all come on in, man. Y'all know what to do when y'all come in. Drop a comment in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. So I got my streaming stuff set up today. So I got my camera set up. Cause when I be going live off my phone, man, them scammers be calling me and they interrupt the live stream. So, I don't want the live stream to be interrupted. So y'all come in today. Y'all come on in and drop a comment in the chat. We're gonna talk about sheep today. Y'all come on in. I'm going on my phone to make sure we live. Yep. Y'all drop a comment in the chat. All right, we are live. Drop a comment in the chat. Let's talk about sheep. And this is for beginners who want to get started in sheep. This is just a few things that I feel like you need to know, especially coming from somebody what's going on, Zion? Especially coming from somebody who has raised sheep, for the past few years, and I've had successes, failures, bumped my head, just want to give you my experience on what I think you need to get started. So y'all come on in, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you got sheep, or let me know if you got goats. Let me know if you team sheep or team goat, because I'm team sheep all the way. No sheep for me. Why not, fam? Look, I'm team sheep. A lot of people team goat, and I like goat. I like goat meat. You know what I mean? But I like to raise sheep because they're less of a hassle. But I am gonna have goats too. I'm gonna start a flock of goats. I just got to figure out what breed is for me. And I'm thinking about Kiko's. Oh, you team goat? Oh man, boo. I'm team sheep. Team sheep. But y'all let me know, man. Y'all come on in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat. Let's talk about sheep today. And look, raising sheep is becoming more and more popular, especially in the United States. You say you scared of big animals, sheep and goats the same size, essentially, depending on the breed of sheep. Now, like the Katahdins, the breed that I like, Katahdins, they get bigger than goats. Like they get way bigger than goats. But they still are not, too big though. They're not too big to handle. You know what I mean? It just depends on the breed. Like a Barbados black belly sheep, they essentially the same size as goats. Yeah, so let me know if you team sheep, team goat. And Shalom, fam. What's going on, Milan? Look, I lost my train of thought. But I just want to kind of give y'all some. Oh, that's what I was saying. So raising sheep is becoming more and more popular in the United States, like worldwide, because a lot of people don't know. What's going on, girl dad cooking up, man? What's going on, fam? I appreciate that. Yeah, y'all hit that like button. I appreciate that. Hey, girl dad cooking up, man. I see you, man. I see your content, bro. You consistent. If y'all want to get some good recipes and see some good food on your on your feed, on your YouTube feed, go follow Girl Dad Cooking Up. Go subscribe to his channel. If they were way over there and I'm over there, it's all good. I got you. Nah, I feel you on that. But it's becoming more and more popular over here to raise sheep and goat. But like in the rest of the world, they raise sheep and goat. You know what I'm saying? That's common, especially in like African countries, Asian countries, the Middle East, European countries. That it's common for them to have sheep and goats. And goat meat is the most popular meat in the world. I really appreciate that, for real. Love. Most definitely, fam. Most definitely, man. I see you doing your thing. Just keep doing it, bro. Keep doing it. But goat meat is the most popular meat in the world. So goats are like one of the most raised animals in the world. But sheep is a close second, right? It's a close second. But raising sheep is becoming more popular here. And I want to, be able to educate people who want to get into sheep, who want to raise sheep, who say, you know what, man, I've been raising goats for so long. I want to try something new. Or I don't want to raise goats. I want something that, ain't going to give me a headache, because goats give you a headache. They got a mind of their own. They have a mind of their own. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, because for people who watching the replay, I don't want to take too much time up. But I just got a few things that I feel like you need to know, if you want to raise sheep, how to get started in sheep. Still looking for land. Would love to be team goat. Most definitely. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, for those who are team goat, I'm telling you, just try your hand at some sheep. Get like 2 or 3 of them and see which ones you like better. I guarantee you're going to be converted. But I feel, yeah, keep looking for that land. You'll get it, fam. But just some things that you need as a beginner, right? Some things that I wasn't necessarily taught. I had to kind of learn these things over time, and I want to be able to teach them to you. So the first thing, right? The first category. Hold on, I got my notes on my phone. So the first thing is breed considerations. Is breed, and this is with any animal, any livestock you want to raise. This isn't just sheep specific. And look, a lot of things what I tell you can be applied to goats, but this is just sheep specific. But a lot of this, most of this, 90% of this you can apply to goats, because sheep and goats are not that different. They have a few differences, but mostly they're similar. They're in the same family. They're just not the same species, but they're in the same, classification, if that makes sense. Like goats have more chromosomes than sheep's, right? But so the first thing is breed considerations, right? So considering the breed. This is with anything. Oh, hey, matter of fact, real quick before I get into it, I just thought about it. I got some of my chickens are hatching today, man. Some of my chickens are hatching. So I have I want to say about 7 of them that's done hatched so far. 7 of my baby chicks. Matter of fact, I just did a short, a YouTube short, on that. So y'all go check that out. But yeah, we got some chicks hatching, man, in the incubator. So go check that out. But any livestock, breed consideration, right? If you get goats, sheep, cows, horses, whatever, turkeys, appreciate that, Zion. Whatever it is, you want to consider the breed, right? You don't just want to go get anything just because it's a sheep or just because it's a goat or just because it's a chicken, because the breed is what it's going to serve the purpose of what you need it to serve. That's why you have specific breeds of animals. Like, you have specific breeds of horses like that race, and specific breeds that they use for, maybe like using their horsepower to maybe, till the land and different things like that. But you have different breeds for different purposes. Different cows, breeds of cows, they are more used for milk. Different breeds of cows are more, so for meat. So you want to have that breed consideration. So when it comes to sheep, look at the region you're in, the climate in your region. So I'm in Southeast Georgia. So I'm in the South, right? I know that it doesn't get too cold here. So I don't necessarily want a cold hardy sheep breed. I don't want a sheep that grows heavy wool, because in the summertime, that sheep, it probably, ain't going to do well. And I'm going to probably have to keep shearing them. You know what I mean? And that's going to take more time. That's going to be more of a hassle. So instead of a wool sheep, I know, okay, I want a sheep that's more of a hair sheep that doesn't produce wool. You know what I mean? So that's just something to think about. But if you're in a more, colder place, say you're up north somewhere in Maine or, Vermont, something like that, where it gets cold, you probably want to get a sheep that's more cold hardy. But you probably can get a hair sheep too. Like any animal that has hair and fur is going to do well in the cold. You know what I mean? So, but it's just like depending on the region you live in, the climate, that's what you want to take into consideration when looking at a breed. And then also too, when it comes to breed, what purpose do you want that animal to serve on your homestead, on your farm? Are you farming for profit? Do you want to do it on a large scale? Okay, if you want to do it on a large scale, what do you want to do? Milk, meat, wool. What do you want to do? So if you want to do milk, then get a breed of sheep that produces heavy milk. But for sheep, a lot of sheep, a lot of people don't look for sheep milk. You know what I mean? A lot of sheep aren't really bred for their milk. They're more so bred for their meat or their wool. But if you're looking for something like something to give you milk, probably looking to getting a goat. Probably looking to a goat breed. But it just depends on the purpose that you want it to serve. So like I said, do you want wool? Do you want meat? Or are you trying to do it on a large scale? Or are you just trying to put enough meat in the freezer for your family and keep you a flock growing, and keep you, probably about 10 to 12 sheep on your land, just as your flock. And then you could sell, make money, you know what I mean, from breeding. So what's the purpose? So when I took all of this into consideration and I was doing my research, I narrowed it down to 3. The first one was who eating sheep? Me. Everybody, a lot of people eat sheep. Do you know what sheep meat is considered? Sheep meat is lamb. Lamb or mutton, but more so is known by lamb. But yeah, that's where lamb comes from. Lamb comes from sheep. So a lot of people who eat lamb chops, all that, yeah, rack of lamb, leg of lamb, that's sheep. That's where it comes from. Yeah, because people don't call sheep meat sheep. Sheep meat. They don't call it that. They call it lamb or mutton. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with goat meat is called goat meat. But like cow, like a baby cow, what they call it, a veal or beef. You see what I'm saying? Chicken, poultry, same thing. But yeah, so what's the purpose? So I narrowed it down to 3 breeds, right? And those 3 breeds were Katahdin. Katahdin was the number 1, and that's what I have stuck with. Dorper is a close second, and Barbados Black Belly. Barbados Black Belly is a good one as well. What's going on, Shalom, the off-grid trucker? What's going on? So Barbados Black Belly as well. And I still probably want a flock of Barbados Black Belly because they able to grow those horns and they got such a pretty coat to them. I like those Barbados Black Belly. But the reason why I chose Katahdin, you get more bang for your buck as far as meat. So they grow bigger than the Barbados Black Belly. Dorpers and Katahdins grow about the same, right? They grow about the same. They both, that mic is nice. Appreciate it. They grow about the same. So on the Barbados, the Dorper and the Katahdin, they grow about the same. So you're going to get a lot of meat off of both of them. The thing that differentiates the Dorper from the Katahdin is the parasite resistance. So I'm going to have to worm more regularly with the Dorper than I would with the Katahdin. The Katahdin is more parasite resistant. They're better, mothers overall. You know what I mean? And then they're more self-sufficient, if that makes sense. The Katahdins are. So, the motherly instincts, the self-sufficiency, and the parasite resistance is what made me choose the Katahdin over the Dorper. So, but you gotta consider all of that. You gotta consider: is this breed a parasite-resistant breed? Does this breed need a lot of attention from me? You see what I'm saying? And then also too, the quality of breeding that you're gonna get from that breed of animal. So, Katahdins, it's not uncommon for them to have twins. Now, for sheep in general, it's really rare for them to have triplets. More so, goats are more known for triplets and quadruplets and stuff like that. But sheep, twins or singles. You see, and with Katahdins, because I want to say out of all of the ewes that I had of Katahdins, I want to say over half of them had twins, gave birth to twins. Yep, over half of them gave birth to twins. And it's the thing. So the first year, they may only give birth to one. But the second year, they may give birth to twins. You see what I'm saying? But so yeah, those are some considerations. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at it, are they going to take up a lot of my time? Are they going to need a lot from me, especially come lambing season? Are they motherly instincts good? Will they be able to give birth and I don't have to be there? I don't have to be watching them round the clock and making sure, you know what I'm saying, they don't roll on their babies or suffocate their babies or all this type of stuff. They're going to know what to do when they give birth. They're going to know how to clean the baby out. They're going to know how to do that. So all I got to do is come out there, administer whatever aid or assistance that I need after the whole process is being done. So that's something you want to kind of look into when you're searching up a breed of sheep. How good of a mother are they? Because especially if you're talking about breeding, because that's what's going to be bred into your flock. So you want to have a breed of sheep that has good motherly instincts, because if they don't have good motherly instincts, then you don't need to breed them. You might need to cull them, either sell them or put them in the freezer. I throw lamb chops on every time I barbecue. Exactly. I love lamb chops. Leg of lamb, all that. I just love lamb is my favorite meat. Goat meat is well, they about tied, but I prefer lamb because, in my opinion, it has a little bit more flavor than goat meat, and because it has a little bit more fat. Goat meat is more lean, more so lean than lamb, rather. But yeah, I love lamb. What about lamb farming? What do you mean, like as far as like on a large scale? Because yes, you could absolutely do that. I know people who raise sheep, on a large scale, who raise lambs on a large scale. You can absolutely do that, and it can be profitable. It can be profitable. Like I said, as long as you choose the right breed, whatever your purpose is, yes, you can absolutely do it on a large scale. However, you either want to have a lot of land or have, funds set aside for their nutritional needs as far as their diet. If they're not going to be grazing or have a lot of land to graze, at least be able to supplement them with a lot of hay, a lot of, high protein hay, like, your alfalfas, like your Timothy grass, your peanut perennials, different things like that. You want to make sure that, and then you can do grain as well. You can mix grain in as well. But you want to, if you're going to farm sheep, then you want to make sure that their diet is very, you invest a lot in their diet, because that's going to help them come lambing season. That's going to help them, milk production, meat production is going to help all of that. But yes, lamb farming is great. But that's really what you want to look for when it comes to selecting a breed. You want to look at the parasite resistance. You want to look at the motherly instinct. You want to look at the region you're in and the kind of sheep that you're looking at getting to make sure they fit the region that you're in. And then the purpose that they're going to serve. You want to make sure if you're trying to get something so that way you can have meat for your family, make sure you get a meat hardy breed that's going to grow to 100+ pounds. Come slaughter time. You feel what I'm saying? Let me know if that's making sense, fam. Let me know if that's making sense. So that's breed consideration. Like I say, I heavily suggest the Katahdin. The Katahdin is my favorite. But you got a lot of newer breeds that are coming out. It's one called, I want to say it's called like the Royal White. But that one is, I want to say they developed that one down in Texas. I think it's called the Royal White, if I'm not mistaken. But it's looks similar to the Katahdin. Shalom, I'm looking to get sheep, so I'm working on getting fence materials now. Most definitely Overcomer and Messiah. I'm going to talk about fencing as well, too. We're going to talk about fencing today. We're going to talk about it. But yeah, so you want, that's kind of what you want to look for, right? Breed considerations. All right, so the next thing is this. The next thing is shelter, right? So when it comes to shelter, you want to make sure that your sheep have a roof over their head. You want to make sure they have, a three-sided, structure. You see what I'm saying? To the point to where they can get out of the elements. You want to make sure they can get out the elements. They have a roof, so it's not raining down on them, all that type of stuff. And then especially when you have lambs, you especially want to make sure you have a three-sided shelter at least, so that way they can, get out of the wind. Because typically a lot of sheep breed in the fall and in the winter. So when those lambs are born, probably late winter, early spring, it's still going to be a little cold outside. So you want to make sure they're able to get out of the wind in the draft. And, you can put straw down, make sure they're warm and stuff like that. But what you'll realize, too, is that, a lot of the time the sheep ain't even going to sleep in the shelter like that, especially if they got a whole paddock and a whole pasture. A lot of times you'll see them out there just laying in the grass, just eating, just chewing the cud. Them are definitely type of sheep I'm investing in. Yeah, but the Royal White, look into that one. That's an up and coming breed, and they're growing, like they grow just as big as the Katahdins and the Dorpers. So definitely look into them. In Texas they grow everything big: beef, sheep, whatever, cattle, all that type of stuff. So yeah, the Royal White, that's one that's up and coming. But yeah, shelter, basic shelter, man, basic shelter. What I'm doing now, because as I'm about to start my new flock, because this is the flock that I'm going to invest a lot in, especially in the breeding aspect, because I'm gonna get a good breeding stock from this. But I'm converting a pole barn into a barn, right? My little, not a pole barn, a carport. I'm sorry, I'm converting my carport. I showed y'all that one. I'm converting that into a barn with stalls, and that's how I'm going to house them. Because I personally believe, and this is just from me, my experience, because I've had sheep in the paddock. I've raised them in the paddock, and they've had just everything to graze on. I would prefer them to be contained somewhat. So I would prefer for them to have stalls, and I can let them out in the pasture and then bring them back into the stalls, because it helps with breeding. It helps with administering dewormers. It helps with administering any kind of aid that you need. And it also helps when it comes to lambing season. Those mothers can give birth in those stalls and they can remain with their babies. So it's just better when they're, somewhat contained and in an enclosed space. So that's what I plan on, doing for my next flock. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. If you got a barn, or if you can set up stalls, you don't even got to have a barn. You can set up stalls. You can literally build like, a 4x4 stall. You could build them, stack them on the side of each other like that. Like the guy who, when I went and bought those sheep from, that I did the video on, how his stalls are set up, you can literally do them just like that. So, but shelter is very basic. You just got to have basic skills. And then I'm gonna tell you this too. Depending on where you decide to house your sheep, make sure, or goats, but make sure they kind of slightly elevated. So if they are in an area that collects a lot of water, and that can flood out at times, because that might be the only place where you can put them. Make sure if you're gonna build a shelter, build like put something that elevates them off the ground. You can get wooden pallets and then just throw some plywood on top. You know what I'm saying? You can do a concrete slab, but make sure you have something that slightly elevates them so they're not sitting in water or sitting in mud. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, those are some of the considerations when we're talking about shelter. Shelter, very basic. They just need to be, you know, out of the elements. And then when the lambs are born, you want to be able to keep them dry and warm. All right. The next thing is fencing, right? So when it comes to fencing, when I first started off, because you know I had done a lot of research and stuff like that, and I was heavily influenced by Justin Rhodes, and Justin Rhodes was he was promoting this Premier One electric netting, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Overcoming Messiah always, man. Anytime. If you got any specific questions, drop them in the chat, man. I'll make a video about it. We go live about it. But you know, Justin Rhodes was promoting this Premier One fencing. It's an electric netting. I still got it. I'm trying to sell it though, because I don't want it no more. I don't need it. But it's a Premier One electric netting. It's about 3-4 foot high. You know what I mean? And you know, you just make sure it's on. It's, you know, and the sheep, they'll respect it. Once they realize, oh, if I touch this, it's gonna shock me, then they're not gonna mess with it. And that's one thing about sheep, more so than goats, is sheep will respect the fence. Whatever boundary you put around them, they'll probably test it once or twice, but after that, they're not gonna mess with it. They're gonna stay contained. That's why I love sheep more than goats, because sheep are more obedient. They're not gonna be disobedient, test your fence, climb all on your fence. Goats will climb all on your fence. You see what I'm saying? They gonna try to escape. Sheep ain't gonna try to escape, for the most part. You might have some outliers, but for the most part, sheep they just want to graze, have some fresh water, have some shelter, and they cool. You know what I mean? But so yeah, when it comes to fencing, you could do the electric netting, the Premier One fencing. And I don't know how much it costs now, but I want to say when I first bought it, so in addition to buying just the roll of fencing, like they come in like 50 feet, 100 feet, 150 feet. In addition to buying the roll, you got to buy your box, you know what I'm saying, the electric box. Then you got to make sure you have your ground rods and all that type of stuff to, you know, make sure that your fence will, you know, have electricity going to it. So you got to set all that up in addition to having, you know, buying the rolls of fencing. But once you get everything, man, I would say for 2 rolls plus everything you need for as far as the electric box, I spent maybe about $350 for all of that. And it worked, you know, it worked for, you know, quite a bit. It worked for at least a year and a half. And y'all know why that came to an end. If y'all done been on my channel for a few years, man, if y'all OG subscribers, y'all know why I stopped doing the electric netting. I did a video on it, man. Some stray dogs got into it, you know, because one thing about, you know, predators, man, they're gonna try to tear down any boundary or any protection you put up of your livestock. And so I had about 3 pit bulls, man. They got through that electric fence, bust through it, no problem, you know. And they basically attacked my sheep, man. One of my sheep lost an ear in the process. I had a 1-ear sheep for a while, man. You know, she made a full recovery, but she had 1 ear after that. She still gave birth and everything, and you know, she still produced. What are your thoughts on cow panel sections or cow panel rolls? Cattle panel. The cattle panel? No, the cattle panel is good. If you're talking about like the steel cattle panel, yeah, you can absolutely use that. Yeah, you can absolutely use that, especially like if you're gonna be doing stalls. I wouldn't suggest doing no whole fence, no whole perimeter with cattle panel, because you're gonna spend a lot more money than you would versus just getting a roll of fencing. And I'm gonna talk about that, but I want to stick to this electric netting real quick. But so the dogs got into my electric netting, man. They got to my sheep, ripped one of their ears off, the other one, and they was both pregnant at this time. And I ended up having to put those dogs down. I had to put them down, man. And you know, it was just a sad thing, right? But so that's why I stopped dealing with the electric netting. But again, if you know you're in an area where you don't necessarily have to worry about that, then by all means do the electric netting. It will work. It will contain them. That's the thing about like temporary fencing. It'll contain sheep, but the thing that you have to worry about is the predators trying to get in. You don't got to worry about your sheep getting out. You got to worry about predators getting in. Coyotes, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's what you got to worry about getting in. So take that into consideration. Take that into consideration. Depending on the area you live and your setup, the electric netting might work for you. And then you can rotationally graze them. I didn't rotate. I'm not a fan of rotationally grazing. But you know, if that's what you want to do, you want to do the more permaculture method, then by all means do that. But I prefer to have, you know, permanent structure. So that's the electric netting. To your point, the cattle panel, right? If you're going to be doing stalls, by all means do the cattle panel. You know what I'm saying? Do cattle panel. especially if you can, get some good deals on some cattle panel. Like I did a video, right? I did a YouTube reel or short, whatever. But basically, like, I was on Marketplace and I saw that these people, they were trying to get rid of some cattle panel, man. They had probably 10 sheets of cattle panel, different sizes and stuff like that, different lengths, but 10 sheets of cattle panel nonetheless, all for $25. That was a huge deal. Like, that's like striking gold in the homestead and farming world. Like, if you can get 10, even 5 sheets of cattle panel for $25, because if you go buy brand new, one sheet is $35. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I say I wouldn't recommend building a whole paddock with cattle panel, because you're gonna spend more money, because you're talking about $35 per sheet, and you're gonna have to get multiple sheets of that. You see what I'm saying? So imagine you got to get 10 sheets, 20 sheets. You see what I'm saying? Versus you just going to get a roll of fencing. And it's the thing, you don't have to do the high quality fencing up front, especially for sheep. Because I did like a cheap brand, like my first paddock that I did, when the fencing, I did a cheap brand. I bought it from Agri Supply. It was like one of the cheaper brands. It wasn't the red brand, but it was a cheap brand. And that the sheep didn't mess with it or nothing like that. The problem with it was when I put goats in that same paddock, the goats start climbing on it. And of course, that's going to cause wear and tear because it's cheap fence. It's not as good quality as like a red brand, stuff like that. So but with sheep, I didn't have to worry about that. My sheep wasn't climbing on the fences. It was the goats. But I did another paddock with the red brand fence, and that fencing is superior. You see what I'm saying? And I think a roll of that was like $500 something. But you get a lot of it. And then, depending on the size paddock you do, you'll have some left over. You can, use it for chicken coops, dog pens, whatever. Turkey enclosures, you know what I'm saying? You'll have extra fencing that you can use. So that's what I would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend go ahead and buy a few rolls of fencing. And to put up fencing, some of the tools that you're gonna need, you're gonna need either an auger or a post hole digger, so you can put the post, the corner post in the ground. You're gonna need a fence stretcher. So a fence stretcher, I wish I could go grab it real quick, but it's basically like a 2x4, and then they attach, like these metal, like this little metal thing on it. And then basically what it is you put the fence in between it and you tighten it up, and then you're able to crank it. And that's how you pull your fence tight. So you're gonna need one of those. You're gonna need I forget I can't think of it, but it's like the nails that you hammer in, to hammer in the post, the fence, hammer the fence in the post. You're gonna need those, and just basic tools, man, to put up the fence. Like you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot. And once you get all those tools, you can continuously use them. You continuously use them for every fence you decide to put up. Because I definitely recommend putting up your own fence versus paying somebody to come and fence whatever enclosure or your property. So like whenever I decide to fence in my whole 6 acres, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm not calling nobody to do it, because man, I got estimates and quotes from different companies, man, and they charge you an arm and a leg to put up fencing, when you can literally do it for a quarter of the price that they charging you. All you need to know how to do is measure out to see how many feet of fencing that you'll need. And there's online tools where you can do that. You can put in, okay, so I got 5 acres, 6 acres, how many, rows of fencing, or how many, feet of fencing will I need? You know what I'm saying? Then once you figure that out, then you know how many rows you got to buy. So, okay, it's going to cost me $3,500 to buy all these rows to fence in my area. Okay, I got the auger, I got the post hole digger, the bad's a Quikrete. You're gonna need that to put the post in the ground. You're gonna need a fence stretcher. You're gonna need something like a pickup truck, something with a ball on it, as far as so you can pull the fence, like stuff like that, or a tractor. You're gonna need stuff like that, but you can essentially do it yourself. I am one and done, long time guy when it comes to building things. I do want to save, but I also want to constantly do unnecessary repairs and therefore spending more regardless. No, I definitely understand that. You say I got 4-string barbed wire fence and I'm good to turn 4 acres into paddocks for the sheep. Hey man, for sure. 4 acres is plenty, man. You can have a lot of sheep on them 4 acres. Definitely appreciate the info like Facebook Marketplace and other to buy supplies cheaper. Absolutely. Yeah, look on Craigslist too, man. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Definitely recommend. And then a lot of these Facebook groups, like these buy sell trade groups, farming, homesteading groups, all that stuff like local to your area. You know what I'm saying? Go to those groups, and people will post stuff that they have for sale in those groups as well, or that they're giving away that they want to get rid of real quick. Those groups are good as well. But yeah, man, it's just about what they call it, upcycling, being resourceful. And a lot of times, man, like once you start doing things yourself, once you have the tools, you can use those tools every time. You have them now. You can use them for anything else that you need. So now that I've done built 2 paddocks, now I have the tools necessary to fence in my whole property by myself. Please don't pay anyone to put up your fencing. I paid $1,000 an acre. Exactly. So y'all listen to the wisdom that's given. Exactly. Off-grid trucker. Exactly. That's why I say, because, man, and I'm glad I did it like I did it. Because if when we first moved here, if I would have went ahead and because when I first moved here, I wasn't thinking about fencing it in. I was just thinking about, getting settled in, probably building a few chicken coops, a garden, and that was it. Sheep didn't come to later. Goats didn't come to later. But if I had it in my mind to fence it in when I first came here, I would have probably just paid that. And I would have probably, been paying on it. You know what I'm saying? When it's debt for it, or it took a nice little chunk out of my savings, which wasn't worth it for what they was trying to charge. So I'm glad I waited and I started learning how to do it myself, because there's a few videos on YouTube that'll teach you. And if you want, if you want a console, I can tell you everything you need. I can tell you how to do it. You know what I'm saying? But yes, $1,000 an acre. $1,000 an acre. So imagine you want to get 5 acres fenced in. That's $5,000. You can fence 5 acres in for $2,500 for half of that. You can fence your, and depending on the type of fence, you see what I'm saying? Because you could do like a 4-strand. You see what I'm saying? Where you're doing just a wire. That's cheaper. That's cheaper than you buying the rolls of fencing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just different ways to go about it. But I definitely recommend, if you're gonna be doing something like paddocks, raise them in paddocks, then definitely go ahead and just do the red brand fence. It's high quality. It's gonna last a long time. And then do it with the T-post. I don't recommend doing it with of course you want your corner posts to be those wooden posts, but as far as like the main source as far as what's holding the fence up is going to be those T-posts, those heavy duty T-posts. You don't want to do wooden posts for that, because you're going to be spending a whole lot more on wood than you would for T-posts. You see what I'm saying? T-posts, you can get them in a bundle. You can get probably like 50 at a time, the heavy duty ones. And it'll cost you a fraction of what you would pay for a wooden post to go down, you know what I'm saying, to be the main thing that's holding up your fence. So definitely do T-posts. So that's what I would recommend for fencing. Exactly, the off-grid truck. You know what I'm saying? See, man, ain't no cap over here. This all real life. And I'm giving y'all free game, bro. I'm giving y'all free game. This is from somebody that has done it. And let's say, like, and I know this off topic of sheep, but let's just say you want to have cattle. You could do the 2-strand for cattle. 2-strand electric, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you run the electric current through one of those strands. That's enough to keep cattle in. You know what I'm saying? With sheep, you can't do 2-strand. You're gonna need to do at least 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? So it's just better to go ahead and just get rows of fence for that. But yeah, so that's what I would say for fencing. But if you're gonna do like stalls and different things like that, just raise them in stalls, you can by all means do the cattle panel, because that cattle panel is very sturdy. It's gonna last a long time. Sheep and goats, they're not gonna be able to escape from that. You see what I'm saying? It's just strong. So that's fencing, right? Unless y'all got any other questions in regard to fencing. So nutritional needs. So like when you're raising sheep, when you're raising goats, any livestock, they have nutritional needs. They got things that they need in their diet. You see what I'm saying? Outside of just the grass that they're eating, they're gonna need stuff, right? So like you gotta come up with a diet plan as far as what you want to feed them. But real quick though, before I get into kind of the diet, I want to talk about some of the supplements and different minerals that sheep needs, right? So one thing that you always want to keep inside your area where your sheep are being housed at is a salt block. You need a salt block. They sell them at Tractor Supply. They sell them at any feed store. Salt block ain't nothing but $3, $4, $5. You know what I'm saying? You just throw it there, throw it on the ground. They'll lick it, but they get a lot of their minerals. They trace minerals from that salt block. And it's white, right? Don't get the goat salt block, because that will kill a sheep. Goat salt block is like red. Sheep salt block is white. That's why you got to be careful when you're housing sheep and goats together. When I house sheep and goats together, I never put a goat salt block in there or goat minerals in there. I always did just the regular standard sheep salt block. and the goats can lick that too. But the goats can have the same minerals that a sheep can have, but a sheep can't have the same minerals as a goat can have, because if a sheep has too much copper, it'll kill them. So that's why you can't throw a goat salt block out or goat mineral block out there with sheep, because it has too much copper in it for sheep. It'll kill them. But make sure if you know, when you're raising sheep, just have a salt. It's like yay big, like this thick. You know what I'm saying? Just throw it in there with them. They'll lick it. They'll get the minerals that they need from it. I know you mentioned the type of grass. What type of feed brands you recommend? I came in late for your live. I got you. No, I'm finna get into that. As far as like the feed, and it's not necessarily brands, but it's just like what kind of feed that you want to feed them. But so those are the minerals that a sheep needs. Regular salt block, you know what I'm saying? And again, they can't have too much copper. Another thing is, so when it comes to deworming, right? And this is one thing that that I do with my sheep regularly, probably like once a month, once every 2 months. They have Safeguard pellets. So Safeguard is a dewormer, right? They have Safeguard for cows, Safeguard for goats, Safeguard for sheep. And again, you can buy this from Tractor Supply, any feed store. Safeguard, that's the brand. Safeguard is the brand. The Safeguard pellets, the dewormer pellets, you can just add it into their feed. So if you're feeding them alfalfa pellets, or you feeding them sweet feed, which I do not recommend sweet feed, but if you're feeding them that, or if you're feeding them grains, you can mix it in. You can mix the Safeguard in with their feed, and that acts as a dewormer. So it's kind of like regular deworming them. You see what I'm saying? And you can get a regular bag of that from any feed store. You can feed that once a month, once every 2 months, stuff like that. But you still want to do other dewormers in addition to that, because the Safeguard is not as strong as, say, an ivermectin. So you can get like ivermectin for sheep. You know what I'm saying? You can get it in the liquid form, and they have other forms you can get it too. But I recommend getting it in a liquid form, right? And then you could just give them the drench in their mouth. You know what I'm saying? That's ivermectin, Safeguard. Also, you can add, so like I say, like once a month, once every 2 months, add to their feed garlic. You can do garlic cloves, garlic powder, you know what I'm saying? Crushed up garlic, but just add garlic to it. Pumpkin seeds, garlic, pumpkin seeds, diatomaceous earth. Those are natural dewormers for sheep and goats. You know what I'm saying? Pumpkin seed is a dewormer for humans. Pumpkin seed, papaya seed, those are dewormers for humans. You know what I'm saying? If you got parasites, those will help your body. You see what I'm saying? But for sheep, so garlic, diatomaceous earth, right? And pumpkin seeds. So add those to their feed, you know what I'm saying? And that acts as a natural dewormer, so it kind of keeps their worm load down. And like I said, with the Katahdin breed specifically, they already parasite resistant. So all you're doing is regular maintenance, you know what I'm saying? And you're just enhancing their health when you're adding this to them. Adding this to their diet and giving it to them. I had 7 acres fenced. The rest of the acres I'm doing myself. I feel you on that, the off-grid chucker. How often do we administer the deworming to the sheep? So it depends, right? Like I say, like with the natural dewormers, I will add in the Safeguard pellets. So with the natural dewormers and the Safeguard pellets, I will add those in once a month to their feed. And pay attention to your sheep. Pay attention to them. So that's why I say I prefer to raise sheep in a contained, enclosed area, because you're able, I want to say they call it the famacha, but you're able to look at their eyes. So like their eyes, like look under their eyes, like in the like the pupil, not the pupil, but like under their eyes, like right here, I forget the name of it. But look under their eyes, and it should be pinkish red. If it's white, that means that they have a lot of parasites. But if it's pinkish red, that means they're good. So if they don't need to be dewormed, don't deworm them. Like with major stuff. If you see signs of worm, that's when you need to deworm. But you need to do like natural things in the meantime, you know what I'm saying, to kind of, help with the deworming, like the natural dewormers. You feel what I'm saying? But like when you want to do the heavy duty stuff, make sure they need it. And like say if they, if they don't really need it, and it's been a while since they've been dewormed, I would say every, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You see what I'm saying? You could do it quarterly. You could do it, every 6 months, something like that. But just pay attention to them. Just pay attention to them. So that's how often I would say to do it, like with the heavy stuff. But those Safeguard pellets and those natural dewormers, I would do those monthly or bi-monthly. And then again, like I said, you want to be looking at their eyes. You want to be looking at their bodies. So when you raising sheep, you want to look at their bodies, because you want to make sure they're putting on weight. You want to make sure that, they not fat, of course, but you want to make sure that, they building muscle, they gaining weight, You see what I'm saying? Especially depending on their age. If they, coming up to a year plus, you want to make sure that they weigh a lot. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be seeing no bones and stuff like that. You want them to be real healthy. You don't want to see no bones. You don't want to see no basically like it looks like they emaciated. You don't want none of that. But just making sure they look healthy and making sure they're acting normal. Meaning they're walking around, meaning they're, grazing, they're chewing the grass, they laying down, they chewing the cud, they getting up. It don't take them a long time to get up. They're not lethargic. If you see any of those things like they lagging behind, they look lethargic, they're not eating as much, that means that some sort of aid needs to be administered, whether it's dewormer or sheep drench. And that brings me to the next thing. And these are things you want to have on hand. So you want to have your Safeguard pellets on hand. You want to have certain things on hand, your dewormers and stuff like that, your ivermectins, you know what I'm saying? But you also want to have a sheep drench, right? And what a sheep drench is, it basically contains like a lot of minerals and nutrients. We'll wait for that car to pass. I hate loud cars. I don't know if it's just me, but loud motorcycles and cars, I hate them. I hate them. Like, why is your car making all that noise? Your car don't need to make all that noise. It's ugly anyways. But that's off topic. But anywho, so dang, I done lost my train of thought. A sheep drench. So a sheep drench has nutrients, minerals, all that type of stuff, and it gives them a boost of energy. You see what I'm saying? So make sure you have that on hand. Because one time I had a goat that almost, died on me. He was acting lethargic. So I had to go and buy a goat drench. You see what I'm saying? They sell them sheep drench, goat drench. Pretty sure they do cattle too. But basically it's like a pick-me-up, for a sheep or a goat. It's a pick-me-up. You know what I'm saying? It's something that get them a lot of energy and it kind of help them. And then, like I say, if they need to be dewormed, you could deworm them, right? So have that on hand as far as for nutritional needs. And also the sheep drench is good for baby lambs as well, because usually when like lambs are born and stuff, they weak and stuff like that before they start nursing. So it's good to get them a drench. You know what I'm saying? If you see that they need it. I got 2 Blue Heelers / Australian Shepherd mixed pups. I'm working on training now to help herd the sheep when I get them. Yeah, that's definitely great. That's definitely great. Having dogs to help you herd your sheep, especially if they're going to be in pastures and paddocks and stuff like that. Because how I used to catch my sheep, because again, sheep are fast. Sheep are fast like dogs, faster than dogs. They run about the same speed, right? And I would be trying to catch these sheep, man. And man, they gonna outrun you every time. Unless you got like a tool, like a shepherding tool. What I used to do is I used to have my dog Chase. He'll chase them to me. So he'll help me herd them. He'll help me herd them. And so like that's kind of like how I kind of trained him, and he still will do it today. You know what I'm saying? If I needed him to do it. But yeah, that's good that you got those dogs. That's good. And those are 2 good breed of dogs too anyway. So the fact that they mix, they both have, that herding ability in their bloodline. So that's good. But again, the sheep drench is healthy for baby lambs as well. If you see that they need it, if you see that they're weak and, they're just lethargic, you know what I'm saying? You can give a baby lamb that sheep drench and it'll help them. It's a booster. Exactly. It's an energy booster. It's like an energy drink. It gives them a boost of energy until they can, get energy from their food or whatever. So yeah, have that on hand. And so let's talk about diet, right? So what I recommend, of course, like if you can have them in a paddock where they can graze, or at least if you build in stalls, at least have an area to where, they can at least go out and graze and eat the grass down. And then also, like, let's just say like you got them just contained. When you cut in your grass, those grass clippings, you can feed that to your sheep. You know what I'm saying? So like you could rake those grass clippings up. You can put it in your chicken coop as bedding. You can feed it to your sheep. You can feed it to your goats. You know what I'm saying? They'll eat that. You see what I'm saying? But also you want to have hay. You want to have hay on hand. Just normal hay, Bermuda grass, whatever your typical hay in your area that grows, or that you can buy from a feed store. Just go buy, you have a couple of bales, you know what I'm saying? And making sure they have hay at all times in their feeder, and if you want them to have optimal health and put on a lot of weight and just be overall healthy, alfalfa pellets is the cheat code. You don't have to even feed alfalfa pellets daily, but at least feed alfalfa pellets, I would say at least about 3-4 times a week, in addition to the hay that they're eating every day. Feed them alfalfa pellets at least 3 to 4 times a week. Making sure, like, bro, I would say, depending on how many sheep you have, probably like a half a cup per sheep. You know what I mean? And that alfalfa is packed with protein. It's gonna put that weight on them. It's gonna put that weight on them. You can also do Timothy grass pellets as well. It acts the same as alfalfa. It's essentially the same thing. So if they don't got alfalfa, you can do the Timothy grass pellet, right? Then you also have the beetroot pellets as well. Kids home, fam. Got to go see y'all later. All right, Zion. Appreciate you tuning in, fam. So you got beetroot pellets, right? Those packed with protein as well. So those are the main three kind of pellets. Don't get the cubes. The cubes are too big for their mouth. They're not gonna be able to chew the cubes. Horses can chew the cubes. Cows can chew the cubes, but don't get the cubes for sheep or goats. Get the pellets. The pellets are what's going on, Shia Sunshine? What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? My grass definitely grows fast, especially after a good rain shower. Yeah. So yeah, when you cut your grass, you can use those grass clippings, feed them to your sheep. So Timothy grass pellets, alfalfa pellets, beetroot pellets. You know what I'm saying? Grab a couple bags of them. Always have them on hand, right? And you know, they can be a little pricey. It ain't too bad, but they can be a little pricey. That's why I say at least about 3-4 times a week, in addition to their hay. You know what I'm saying? If you feed it to them every day, you must got some money. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I say, you know what I'm saying, just a few times a week, making sure you're adding that to their feed. Also have some grains on hand. You can have corn, oats, barley, you know, different grains like that. You can have a mixture of grains, but mainly like corn and oats. Corn and oats are real good, you know, for sheep that you can add to their feed. You know what I'm saying? They can eat it, but don't feed too much grain. I said this in a previous live video. When you glad to have a co-op, exactly. It's about smarter, not harder. I have cues, but it's to make stink juice for my garden. Got a 50-pound bag from Costco. Wow, for $16 for my plants. This might last me years. Wow. Costco. I'm gonna have to check out Costco. I'm gonna see if they got the pellets in Costco too. I'm gonna tell y'all another thing. So when it comes to like chicken feed, like the hen house reserve that I talk about, also with like the alfalfa pellets and stuff, Walmart. Go to Walmart and like your pet aisles and look for like those. So like with the hen house reserve, and I'm gonna get back to what I was saying about the sheep diet, but this is free game right here. I feed my chickens hen house reserve, right? It's like real high quality protein feed for my laying hens. They lay great eggs on it, right? But it's a little pricey. So like for a 50-pound bag, it's like $30 from a feed store, from a regular feed store. If you go to Walmart in the pet area, sometimes they'll have, you know, the hen house reserve. Sometimes they'll have the alfalfa pellets for like $5 cheaper. So if I'm lucky and I go in Walmart and I see they got a bag of hen house reserve, it's usually $25. But if I go to the feed store like I just went today because they didn't have it at Walmart, it was $30. So you could save $5 by just going to Walmart. The same thing with the alfalfa pellets. If they got them, 9 times out of 10, it's like $5 cheaper. But usually Tractor Supply got it. You know what I mean? But again, alfalfa pellets, the Timothy pellets, the beetroot. Also with the grains, right? Corn, oats. Those are the main two. Corn, oats. If you can get other type of grains, yes, sheep can eat all of that. But don't go heavy on the grains. You can feed them grain every day in addition to their hay, but make sure it's not a lot. And I'm gonna tell you how you will know when it's a lot. And I spoke about this in the previous live. We were talking about poop for a little while. Pay attention to your animals' poop. But with sheep and goats, when they poop, it's pebbles. It's little pebbles, look like little milk does. When you start to see they poop clump up like turds, that means they're getting too much grain. And that means you need to cut back on the grain. And feed them more hay, more alfalfa pellets, or whatever type of pellets you feed them. But cut back on the grain, and then you'll see they poop go back to normal, because it's messing up the digestive system when they get too much grains. And when they grow, and when they eat too much grain, they grow hooves more so than, you know, when they just eating regular grass. But grain is good though. Grain is not bad. You just can't have too much grain. Also make friends at Tractor Supply. You can meet an employee that will give you a discount on some of those bags that are busted. Exactly. Good point. Make friends, networking. Same thing with these home improvement stores like Lowe's, Home Depot. You know, make friends at all these places. You can get lumber cheap. You can get busted bags of soil for cheap, or regular bags of soil for cheap, plants for cheap. You know, like you say, feed. You can get it cheap. You can even use their discount. You know, if you get to be good friends with them. So yeah, networking for sure. And also too, when it comes to Tractor Supply, sign up for their rewards program. Like I said this on the previous live, right? My uncle called me. He said, "Hey man, I got all this lumber. I need you to come get it. It's free, right? I don't got a trailer, but I know where I can go get one from. I can go rent one from Tractor Supply. Guess what? I'm a member. I'm a rewards member at Tractor Supply. So guess what? Every time I go and get and rent the trailer, it don't cost me nothing because it's a part of my rewards. I spend X amount of dollars. I get free tractor rentals. I get discounts. I get X, Y, and Z. So become a rewards member, especially if you're going to be shopping there frequently, buying your feed, buying your dewormers, all that type of stuff, your products that you need for your homestead. If you know you're going to be shopping at Tractor Supply, go ahead and sign up for the rewards program. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, you can save money when you need to. So I say $25 for the trailer rental because I got it for free. All right. You can also plant Timothy grass on your land for the sheep. You can start before you get the sheep. Exactly. And if you got a tractor, man, you can like let's say you got multiple acres and you got a tractor, you can go out and plant, you know, things like Timothy grass, things like alfalfa. You can go out there and plant like an acre of it, and you can bale the hay yourself. Or you can if you want to do it manually, you can use a little tool, like the little sickle tool. You know what I'm saying? You can cut it and you can just feed it to them like that. Just it's many ways to do it, but yes, absolutely, you can grow that. You can grow a lot of that, and then like say like you build a paddock for your sheep. You can, you know what I'm saying, go in with your tiller, or you can rent like a tractor or something. Go in, till the ground. You can plant different grass seeds that you want in there. You see what I'm saying? You can plant different different grain seeds that you want in there, and the sheep, you know what I'm saying, they'll eat that grass. It'll be real healthy for them. Tractor Supply also offer a discount for you, Dre, since you are a vet. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Oh, trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. I got the Milos, I got the you know, the Tractor Supply. When I go get my oil check, hey, I be using my own veteran benefits. I be using it. But so that's what I recommend for diet, right? Alfalfa pellets at least 3-4 times a week. Alfalfa, beetroot, or Timothy grass pellet at least 3 times a week. You can feed grain daily, but not a lot. If you see that they turds are starting to clump up, that means you need to cut back on the grain, but they need hay every day. Of course, clean water, adding apple cider vinegar to their water, you know, probably like weekly, something like that, weekly, or, you know, at least once a month. Add that ACV to their water. That's healthy for them as well. And I'm gonna give y'all another cheat code. In your area, and I spoke on this before, in your area where you live at, look on like Craigslist or look on like, you know, Facebook Marketplace. See if there's anybody selling peanut perennial hay. Peanut perennial hay, when you can find it, it's like gold. Your sheep will love it, and it's gonna put so much weight on them. It don't make sense. In my opinion, it's better than alfalfa hay, alfalfa pellets, or alfalfa hay. You can buy alfalfa hay too from Tractor Supply as well. You could buy the little, like, say if they don't got the pellets, you could buy the hay. It comes in like a little bale. You could buy that. But peanut perennial hay, like people who grow peanuts and then you know, they collect the peanuts, they usually bale up, like, you know, what the little vines and stuff and what the peanut grows on, they bale that up into hay. And it's one of the best things that you could feed your sheep or goats. It's gonna put a lot of weight on them. And so, like, say you raising sheep and you're not necessarily raising them to breed, but like, let's just say like every year you want to raise about 5 or 6 for your family just to put in the freezer. You want to feed alfalfa as much as you can. You want to feed a good amount of grain, not too much. And like, if you can find peanut perennial hay, but you want to feed a lot of these high protein hay and different, you know, organic matter that you can feed them to put on as much weight as they can in a 6, 7, 8 month time frame. And I guarantee you, if you feed them that multiple times a week, by the time it comes to slaughter them, they're going to be, depending on the breed, of course, but they're going to be well over 100, 120 pounds, especially Katahdins, especially male Katahdins. Male Katahdins, man, they can get huge. Huge. I'm talking about like 130, 140. Like my first ram that I bought, my first Katahdin ram, no lie, man, when I butchered him, it took me like 3 days to just break the meat down. That's how big he was. He had to be all of like 135. Like, I struggled to get him up on the gambrel. Like, that's how heavy he was. You see what I'm saying? It took me so long to break down that meat. But yeah, so like definitely feeding a lot of those things that I suggested is gonna put that weight on them. And it's also gonna be good because you want your ewes, your mamas, you want them to, you know, have a healthy weight when it comes time for breeding season and lambing season, because you want them to be at a healthy weight when they're giving birth. You want to feed, you want to double up on their feed. You want to at least double up on their feed while they're pregnant too, so those baby lambs can come out real big and healthy. You feel what I'm saying? And then while she's nursing, you're gonna need to double up on that feed as well. She's gonna need to have access to more feed and more water. So those baby lambs, she can produce enough milk. But it also helps, like I say, in the birthing process. If they're healthy, their weight is up and all that type of stuff. All right, so these are some tools to have. This is the last thing that I feel like you need to know. Some tools to have when it comes to your sheep, and I got them right here, right? So this is one of the main things right here. Well, I'll go first right here. So this is an ear tagger. This is an ear tagger. You could buy from Tractor Supply. You know what I'm saying? It pierces the ears. It tags the ears. These are the ear tags. Now when I first bought these, I didn't realize these was for cattle. These was way too big for sheep. I didn't realize that. But what I do, I just cut it in half and I just mark it a specific way so I know which animal it is, because this could be too heavy for a lamb. But they sell tags specifically for sheep and goats that's a lot smaller than this. But have a tagger and have tags. Why is that important? You need to inspect what you expect. You need to have good management. What are the signs that show your female sheep is pregnant? That's a great question. Some of the signs, well, first off, if you know that male has been in there, been mounting her, like you've seen him mount her, you know what I'm saying? Like that's one indicator, right? Another indicator is you see the weight gain, like in the belly. Like always look at the belly. You see the weight gain. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a difference between a sheep putting on weight, you know what I'm saying, just regular weight, and then the weight gain of a pregnancy, because it's more so in the stomach. And then another one is their udder. Their udder will begin to drop. So their udders is what you milk from and stuff like that. Like a cow has an udder, sheep, goats, they have udders. You always want to look at their udders, because usually, especially the first year, a female sheep, the first year of her life, her udders are not going to really show. You can see the nipples, but her udders are not going to it's not going to be dropped, if that makes sense, because there's nothing in there. But when she gets pregnant, and as she goes further along in that pregnancy, her belly will begin to grow, and then you can see her udder begin to drop a little bit more. And that's really the telltale sign to know if she's pregnant, if her udder drops. If her udder drops, that means, you know what I'm saying, she's most likely pregnant. And then coming closer to the time of birth, the udder is going to drop even more. And then you'll look in her her area, her private area, and you want to look for a discharge. You want to look for a discharge, like a clear white substance that's dripping from it. And then that's the mucus plug. So you'll know, like when you see that mucus plug, when you see that stuff dripping, that mucus plug, then you'll know it's going to be soon when she gives birth. So those are some of the signs: the udder, the belly, and then make sure, look for any discharge. But ear tagger. You know what I'm saying? When the lamb is first born, you want to tag their ear, and you want to have some sort of log. Matter of fact, I have a book where you can log, all type of notes and stuff like that for your flock. But you want to make sure you're managing your flock well. Like you want to know what baby was born to who based off of the ear tag, or whatever your method is, whatever your system is. You want to be able to know that type of stuff so you can track their age. You can track when you administer dewormers. You can track who the mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, you can track their lineage, their pedigree. You can track all of that. But ear tags is definitely important for that, so you can know who is who. Who is who. You see what I'm saying? Because when you start getting 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 plus sheep, it's gonna be harder to tell them apart. It's gonna be harder to tell certain males apart from certain males, especially when they all white or they got a similar coat. It's gonna be hard to tell. How do you tell? By their ear tag. Okay, so this number 32, this number 100 and whatever. So you'll know that based off of your records. So ear tagger, ear tags. Another thing is this. These are hoof trimmers. They look like little scissors, but they hoof trimmers, right? When you need to trim their hooves, this is what you use. And I want to say you can use regular scissors too. I'm not sure. But to be on the safe side, I would just go to Amazon, look up hoof trimmers, and then something like this will come up, and you can trim their hooves. And that's a good thing about the Katahdins, man. Their hooves don't really grow like that. They hooves don't really grow like a lot of different breeds of sheep or even goats. Like goats is the worst. Like depending on the breed, man, they hooves can go like crazy. And so you got to maintenance that. You know what I'm saying? You got to trim their hooves. So you're gonna need a hoof trimmer. Another thing is this. This is a castration bander kit, whatever. And this is the castration bands, right? So I'm gonna show y'all what these look like. And I'm gonna tell y'all the purpose of these, right? And I know people might be like, oh, that's so inhumane, whatever. But this is how a castration, oh wait, that's the camera right there. This is how a castration band looks. So you see how small it is, but how thick it is. So what you do is you put it, you can see those little 4 little points right there. You put it in there. Hold on. You put it in there like so. I don't know if my bad. You put it in there like this. Hooves. How and what do you look for when they need to be trimmed? You just look at their hooves, and if it's like your nails, right? If your nails is long, you're gonna know. If you see their hooves and their hooves is like kind of growing up and out, like that's how you know that they hoof need to be trimmed. You trust me, you'll know when you see it. Just pay attention to their hoof. You'll know. All right, so this is how you put it on there, and then you stretch it out like that. And then what you do when the baby ram is born, and you want to do this, I mean, you can do it within the first week of life, right? And then what you do is you put the testicles in there, and then you let it go. And then you let it band around those testicles, right? Now, for the first, day or so, it's going to be uncomfortable for them, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. You can tell by how they walk, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. But probably about, a few days later, a few weeks later, you know what I'm saying? Those testicles are going to fall off because it's going to cut off the blood circulation to those testicles. Those testicles are going to fall off, and then you're going to see them. You see what I'm saying? But what is the purpose of castration? The purpose of castration is this. You never want a lot of males in your flock, right? You only need 1 or 2, right? Depending on the size of your flock. You only need 1 or 2 males to service your females. Let's say you got 10 females. You only need 1 male. If you got 22, you see what I'm saying? I would go by 10s. So, you got 10 females, 1 male. 10-to-1 ratio, 22, 33, 44. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll be able to service all those females, impregnate them all, right? So for the additional rams that you don't want in your, in your breeding program, because you got this stud of a ram right here who's servicing all the females, but you don't want to sell these rams because what? You probably want to put them in the freezer, have them around just in the flock, grow them up, fatten them up, sell them for meat, whatever. What you want to do is castrate them so that they don't reproduce with the females, right? So that they don't, have accidental, breedings with the females. And also too, it makes the meat quality a lot better because they're still going to grow the size of a ram. However, they won't have all the hormones as a ram because hence you cut off their testicles. So they're not going to go through puberty like a regular ram would. They're not going to have those same hormones in the meat because there's a difference in, meat quality when it comes to an adult female and adult male, because that adult male has all that testosterone and all those hormones within him. So the meat is going to taste a little different. Sometimes it could be a little tougher. But when you castrate them, it cuts all that out. You're not going to have that testosterone in the meat. You're not going to have those hormones in the meat. So that's the purpose for castration. A lot of people might feel like, oh, it's inhumane. It's not. It's life. It's life. You only need a few good males, and really 1, depending on the size. You only need, not a lot of males to service your flock. Intact males, that is. You see what I'm saying? People do the same thing with dogs. They don't want their dogs breeding, so they go get them fixed. There's no difference. But that's another thing you need. And you need iodine, right? Liquid iodine, right? So the liquid iodine is for when baby lambs are born. You could apply it around their navel so it can prevent infection. You see what I'm saying? Because of course they have umbilical cords too, like we do. And, when they born, that umbilical cord, it dries up and stuff like that. But you want to put that iodine around their navel to prevent any sort of infection around that area. You know what I'm saying? Because they could be susceptible to that. So liquid iodine. And the last thing is a sheep syringe. I don't have one with me right now. I got to buy a new one. But you need a sheep-specific, goat-specific syringe. It looks like a regular syringe. It's a little bigger though, but it has like a little ball at the tip. And that syringe, what it does, and it extends out and it has a ball at the tip, because how their mouth is set up, when you are administering either dewormer some sort of drench, something like that to a sheep, you have to go to the corner of their mouth and insert it. Like you can't just put it like straight in their mouth. You got to put it in the corner, like in the corner right here, and administer it that way. That way you ensure they swallow it. And that sheep specific syringe allows you to do that. Just look it up. You'll see it. But yeah, and then you just put it, like I said, to the side of their mouth, and you administer whatever you got to administer to them. So those are the things that I recommend you have on hand. Of course, you know, a tub for water, you know, feeding bowls, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? That's common. But those are the main things that I recommend for sheep. That's how you get started with sheep. If you got any questions, oh, almost forgot. So to transport your sheep, you can rent livestock trailers, right? Let's say you don't got a pickup truck, right? You can rent a pickup truck. You can rent livestock trailers in some areas. Some people will let you rent theirs out. But let's say you can't do that. You can build a, you know, like a transport crate. You know what I'm saying? You can build it out of wooden pallets to match the dimensions of whatever truck bed that you're putting it on. You can do that and make sure, you know, put like a door that encloses them in. You can do that, or you can buy a transporter crate. You know what I'm saying? It's a steel one, and it's like, you know, any size sheep or goat can fit in it. I have it. Y'all probably have seen it, but it's like a standard size one, and it's made out of steel. You see what I'm saying? And so they're able to, you know, transport. You can put it on the back of your pickup truck. You can transport them like that. If you don't have a livestock trailer, so you will need something to transport your sheep, unless the person who you're buying it from is going to drop it off to you. But most of the time they not, especially if they live like 3 hours away, 2 hours away, 5 hours away. You're going to have to go and get that. So you're going to have something to transport them, or you could do it in a minivan. I don't know, let the seats down. But to be on the safe side, I would just recommend getting a crate or a livestock trailer, or renting a livestock trailer to transport your sheep or goats. But those are the things you need, man, to get started in sheep. I feel like, you know, that was an extensive list. If you got any questions, drop them in the chat real quick. I'm going to stick on for probably about another minute or two, just in case y'all have questions. And then if you got questions after this, you watching the replay, drop a comment down below. Also, go check out my last video I just dropped today. Top 10 countries for Americans who want to farm abroad, who want to buy land and farm in other countries outside of America. I just did the top 10 list for that. So go check that video out. Hype it up, man. All that good stuff. Hype it up, man, please. It helps the algorithm. And I'm coming out with a list specific for Black people who want to farm abroad as well. A list of specific countries that are friendly for Black people to go buy land, to farm. So that's coming soon. So yeah, man, y'all check that out. And yeah, go hype the video up. Go check it out. All that good stuff. Go join the tribe as well. The free tier on Facebook. The link is somewhere in some of these videos. But yeah, go check that out, man. I'll be going live on there too. And then starting next month, I'm gonna more so go live in there every day or every other day than on YouTube. So y'all check that out, man. When it comes to fencing, how many divided parts is recommended for grazing for rotation purposes? How many divided parts? Oh, you mean like how you divide the paddock? It just depends, man. It just depends on how many sheep you have and how you want to rotationally graze them. Because what I would recommend is a system like where you have a paddock, and this is how I'm going to build one of my paddocks out. You have a paddock, like, you know, let's just say, you know, it's a half an acre paddock or acre size paddock. You can what I would recommend is getting either cattle panel or another roll of fence and break it down into like 4 sections. Break it down into like 4 sections. One section can be for, you know, the sheep where you house them at, where your stalls are built at. And then the other 3 can be, you know, for grazing purposes or whatever the case may be. So they graze in one area of that paddock. And then once they eat that down, then you could transport them or not transport them, but herd them to the other side and then to the other, you know what I'm saying, the other area. So I would recommend breaking it down to like 4 different paddocks within one paddock and build it to where you can herd them effectively into those other paddocks. You see what I'm saying? Like you want to be able to have like different lanes that they can travel through, or, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, but build it out how you think it will be effective for you to move them to each side of the paddock. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, build it out like that. But I would say break it down to like 4 different parts, divided in 4 different parts. If it's like a half acre or acre paddock, break it down like 4 acre parts, plots, whatever you want to call it, paddocks. But yeah, that's what I recommend, man. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and go. And I'll see y'all on the next one, man. I hope this benefited somebody who want to get in the sheep. And like I said, if you got questions, drop them down in the comment section below, man. But I'll see y'all on the next one.